Jeremy, Tom, how are you?
Hi, Tom. Good. Thanks for having me on your show. What's news? Happy Friday.
Happy Friday to yourself as well. It's nearly the end of our financial year here in Australia, isn't it? Has it been in the financial year terms, been a busy year for you?
It's been a roller coaster, is what I tell people. There's a lot of ups and downs. When the ups are up, they're pretty high, but when you fall down, it gets a bit quiet. There's a lot of work that gets done behind the scenes, but getting front and center is a bit tricky. But look, we have reported some good successes this financial year, so I'm not complaining there. It's been a good, what we call uh, H1 is from this 2024, but we actually report in trimesters. So we're in the middle of a trimester. We've finished the Jan till April trimester. We did pretty good. So now we're in the May, June, July, August trimester. So we're right in the middle of that, trying to get a few more activities underway, trying to still promote what we're doing, export, and for the most part, it's still going okay. We aren't complaining here too much, turbulent time, but we're on the up, and I think it's going well. And how are you doing?
Yeah, we're good. It's as always. I think when we're dealing with people, it's a roller coaster ride anyway. And you run your own business. It's what you sign up to. It's extended highs and deeper lows, and that's part of it. But I think just the world as it is right now out there, it's a bit of a white knuckle ride anyway. So if you're in that position where even in the good times you still got a roller coaster anyway, you're guaranteed a bumpy ride.
And you know what they do say? It's not necessarily what you do, but it's how you do it and who you're going on the journey with. So I know we met about 3 years ago, and that's really the benefit of doing business and running your own show is who you can bring along for the ride. So you're coming along this roller coaster ride. You've been there with me. We haven't done a whole lot together, so let's change that, Tom. We'll take that offline after this, and hopefully some of your viewers or listeners can come in and tune in and say, what are we doing together and how we can do it. But if you're setting up a ride, a roller coaster, and ride for success, it's who do you want to be riding with you? I think
Well, I
that's
love
really
that.
what's important.
I'm glad I recorded this because otherwise I should be taking notes.
Oh,
But
taking notes. Look at your business card. I've still been writing notes about what that formula means. I thought I cracked it, but I guess not. But yeah.
well, actually, yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. So, what did you think it was when you thought you cracked it?
So I don't have it in front of me. I haven't looked at it for a couple of years, but I think it's got to do with mateship, working together after tough times, and how we can deliver above and beyond value by working together for a just cause.
Okay, all right. So, as guesses go, obviously you got the baths and everything else that goes with it. You're probably the closest to it out of anybody over the last 6 years. Okay, but it is incorrect. And once you know what it is, okay, then you'll understand it's close but no cigar in this case. You're thinking the right way though. It's
I know. I'm getting there. I did microeconomics game theory in university. So I really like cracking codes, and that's kind of where I'm at, signals, where it's coming from or where it's going. But yeah, you're living in Sydney, I'm living in Sydney, but originally I'm from Melbourne, so we're both foreigners in this broad city. How are you liking Sydney these days?
well, it's got the Melbourne weather today.
Oh my God. Deluge, that's for sure.
So yeah, and you entered into fatherhood recently as well.
Yes, well, got a boy. He's a couple of years old now, but I've got one on the way coming too.
Oh,
So
there you are.
we're expecting to get everything done, like you said, end of financial year. Well, this is end of my non, you know, uh, at home time for now. So I have to get everything done before the end of July, and then I can take that, a couple of weeks off from the government. Maybe I'll get a couple extra weeks after that, and we can reset for the last 4 months of the year. So that's why I'm really working hard this May, June, July. Look, we also want to bring a delegation out in November. So you want to bring a group of Israeli sports tech companies to Australia. You're a big fan of the sports tech. There's this one company called PlayerMake. I'm not sure if you've heard of it, but some coach of a Manchester United football team I've never heard of before. Some guy who was up there maybe for 10, 15 years. Who's this old coach of Manchester United? The
It's
really
sort of
famous guy?
Alex Ferguson.
That guy. I think he's the one that's backed this Israeli company. It's
Okay.
either him or Arsene Wenger. I don't know these guys and I don't know
Well,
these names.
they were direct rivals for a similar amount of time in the Premiership. They're
Yeah.
both very good managers.
They're good. They're good. You tell me they're good.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they must be back in good company. So here's a good story. Apparently, one of them, whichever one it is, has his own football pitch, I'll say soccer pitch, in his backyard, and he trains younger kids there. And this company comes to him and he says, "I've got this device. You put it on your feet, and it monitors, first kick, second kick, how fast you're running, how slow you're running, how long you're running, how strong you're striking it, and all that. And then you can just download it after each thing." The guy goes, "Okay, bring your kid over, come over." I think he's in Scotland or north of England. He says, "Test it out," and they put it in his home ground, home pitch. I think that's a dream, right? Coach the Premier League for 10, 20 years, and then get your own soccer pitch in your backyard. And yeah, he was one of the first backers of the Israeli company. So we're trying to bring Israeli sports tech companies in November to Australia for athletes of the future, but also for media fan engagement. So as much as I can't play soccer anymore, I enjoy watching the sports online. So how do we get those connections going? And so, no streaming buffers, and you can tune into the commentators, you can engage with your team and all that kind of stuff. That's kind of what's driving me at the moment, is getting where to go. But the funny thing, I know that you're in Sydney now, and I'm in Sydney, but I'm from Melbourne. If you had to pick three cities in Australia, Melbourne, Sydney, Brisbane, where would you take sports tech? And unfortunately, I feel, I don't know, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, that Sydney isn't as strong as Melbourne and Brisbane right now. What do you reckon?
Well, that's a good question. A bit, I suppose a lot of it depends on your code, because obviously the code is massively different
Yeah.
between Sydney and Melbourne, for example. I think Brisbane overall is a good sporting city for its population. So pro rata, that's right up there. But if you think, holistically, and we're talking sports, and you mentioned Australia, you're looking outside in, you're looking other countries into Australia, and the first city off the run of the tongue is always Sydney. That's
Mm,
the iconic Sydney country.
true.
So it depends which lens you're going through, I guess.
And did you get to the Matildas last game before the Olympics? Apparently, it was a sold out stadium. They're 14th in a row
Yes, good
out
on
in
them.
Homebush. Yeah, good on them.
It's good. They've had some success. That's what drives the attendances,
That's it.
and they're good numbers.
Someone told me yesterday he could name a few players in the Matildas, couldn't name any in the Socceroos.
There we are.
Yeah, Mackenzie Arnold.
She played West Ham.
She plays for West Ham. Mary Fowler. Who does she
Yeah,
play for?
City, isn't it?
Oh, okay, there you go. So you know more than I do. Ford, Caitlin Ford, maybe.
I can't remember. I don't.
They're doing well. They're becoming household names.
Yeah,
And who's our coach? The captain, sorry.
Sam
Sam
Kerr.
Kerr, always
See?
injured, but she's the best in the world right now, isn't she? Or she was, at least.
Yeah, well, she's definitely up there. She's got a claim to it, but obviously she's got herself in trouble with in the
Oh,
UK.
in England, she did something, didn't she? Called
Yeah,
something. Well, let's not go into there. We don't like politics, do we?
yeah.
But yeah, no. So we want to bring the group to the home of the Matildas, which is actually in Melbourne. I think the Vic government dropped 100 mil, and they said if you're coming to Victoria, you may as well go out to their campus and see the home of the Matildas. They're doing well. Maybe they'll bring home Olympic gold. You never know.
Never know. You never know. It's be interesting to see from the World Cup how many of those same teams are in the Olympics, because they don't usually transcend. They don't usually have the same parity.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think it could also be maybe regions and qualifications and all that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's an Asian Women's World Cup in soccer football that's coming to Brisbane in 2027 or 26 or something like that. So I reckon there's some good money to invest. Anyway, sports aside, because one of the overlap subjects that we both work on is cybersecurity. You still doing good work in that space?
I certainly am, and my dog's just decided to say hello as well, by the way, just in case you wonder what I'm doing there. He's
Oh,
just woke up and feeling jealous that someone else is getting some attention. Go on, mate, move.
it's the benefit of choosing when you get to work, hey Tom.
That's just it, isn't it? Yeah, we still support some cybersecurity organisations. One of them that you know as well. So yeah, that's going good. It's probably a good idea maybe to let people know who listens to this what it is that you do. Actually,
Oh yeah, that's a good point. I should go there. They
because
could
of
look at. I don't
yeah.
know if they can see my name coming at the bottom, but my name isn't Israel Trade Commission. My name is Jeremy UNGAR, and I work for the Israel Trade Commission. We are part of the Israeli Foreign Trade Administration in the Ministry of Economy and Industry. There's about, I don't know, I've got about 100 colleagues or more around the world in different cities and countries where Israel does regional trade and investments. So we help those companies export. You could think of us like Austrade that helps Aussies export abroad, but we help the Israelis come into Australia. And we do that through finding partners, knocking on doors, and working with people like yourselves for Israeli companies that want to expand here, hire their staff, hire a good workforce, or do a good turnaround. And for the most part, we work where Israel has a competitive advantage. So in Australia, that's what we would say in cybersecurity. Get some good successes in medical technologies because Australia has very good levels of service and care, but Israel has very good levels of technology and how they use that in the hospitals. So we work with partners on that way to channel the technology into the hospital. And with cybersecurity, we can go direct to the big companies or we can go through channel partners, system integrators. But we support companies on their journey, export journey. Not all of them are cooked and ready for export, but we will help them and nurture them. But for the most part, it's quite a rewarding position to be able to be of assistance, and especially because I don't actually do the sales. I don't know if you have to do the sales part of your job, but that's not my favorite. Sort of in my history of working in post university. So yeah, so I have had a few jobs before this one, but I've been here 4.5 years, and I'm still liking getting up every day, coming to the office, and helping out where I can.
Yeah, that's nice. Okay, and for those people that this is new to them, it's just crossed their path. How long has that been established for in Australia?
Hey, it's a good question. You can't quote me on this. I know it's being recorded, but I would say I'm gonna throw out the 90s, but it could be the 80s. I'm pretty sure since the 90s we've had what we call the trade commissioners. So they're Israelis who have come to Australia and they run an office. Now, I've been under two trade commissioners. So I've had one previous one, Shai Zarivach, who you would have met, and now we have Trade Commissioner Ohad Bloomberg. And they have 4-year terms with the chance to extend for one extra year. So let's say if there's been I'm going to throw out 6 trade commissioners, maybe 7 or 8 on a 5-year term, that makes 35, 40. So you'd go back to 80s and 90s. But trade between Australia and Israel has been going since the formation of the State of Israel, so 1948, formally. And we do have what's known as the Australia-Israel Chamber of Commerce, which is a Australia-wide organisation with separate offices in each of the capital cities, except for Canberra, Darwin, and Tasmania, or Hobart, I guess. And we work with them and other organisations to promote the trade of Israeli goods and services into Australia, whereas the Chamber of Commerce is more of you'd call it like a meeting group, not for profit, but we are Israeli government and we have 45, 46 offices around the world. So in our region, we have offices in Singapore, Hong Kong, Thailand, Vietnam, Japan, Philippines, Taiwan, India, China, and a few of them have multiple offices. It depends how big the trade system is. And generally, they're based out of the embassy, even though we're not part of that, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, because we're economy and industry. But in Australia, you wouldn't really want to be in Canberra if you're doing business. Don't know
Mm.
about you, but I wouldn't want to be in Canberra in a day like today when it's pretty cold in Sydney. I can't imagine how miserable it's going to be in Canberra right now. But, harder business, harder finance. Sydney's where you got to be. Could be in Melbourne. They've got a lot of business in Melbourne, but I think Sydney is a good choice for this office.
Okay. All right. So that's very helpful, and that's also would explain why you're doing the trimesters and things are done a little bit differently.
Yeah, we don't do the financial year reporting, but we understand that Aussies shut down in June, and then they'll go away and go to the Amalfi Coast or something for the summer. Maybe you'll go home, go back to the UK and experience a bit of warmth over there and come back and regenerate for August. Work a little bit until the end of November and take off the December holidays. And then they'll
The
come
other
back maybe February.
the other cultural thing with Australia, which is always tickled me, it wasn't quite so bad this year, but every other year, I've been here 13 years now, has been January. That's the month when nothing happens.
Nothing happens.
You got
There's cricket, and that's about it.
That's it. It's a
I do
nightmare.
like the cricket. But yeah, it's like we work all throughout. You get Christmas, New Year's off, but we're working throughout. But, you try to pick up the phone and call someone, they're not going to answer. Send an email, get the out of office. I'll be back in 6 weeks. I don't think it happens around the world, but
It
all
does.
good.
It
And
doesn't.
are you looking forward to Monday, the birth of the sovereign, your sovereign, Mr. King
Oh,
Charles III?
I'll tell you a story. So it's 13 years ago precisely that I arrived here. Okay. And I went to meet my future boss for a quick beer on the Friday when I landed. And when I was having a conversation with him, he said, "I'll just, by the way, Monday's the Queen's birthday." Okay. And I just thought, okay, he's British. Well, I thought, oh, that's nice to know. He's a royalist or whatever. Anyway, so there I was on the Monday, suited and booted, nude tie on, which also was a bit of a no-no here. I didn't realise. Walked into the CBD and it was like COVID. It was 28 days later or something. No one. Oh, this is a bit odd. I expected a major city on a rush hour to be a lot busier than this. Couldn't get in the office. I rang him up and he's like, yeah, no, I told you it's the Queen's birthday. Well, I know you said that. I did listen. He goes, yeah, we don't work. I was like, that's why he's talking. And in the UK, we don't get it off.
No. And you
Yes.
probably looked in your phone and you're like, actually, it's not Lizzie's birthday today. I've got it marked down for a different day. Yeah.
That still sounds strange to be saying the King's birthday.
King's birthday. And it's not his birthday either, but it's just the day you get off. What is it? Probably the second Monday in June or the first month, something about a Monday in June. But yeah, happy birthday, King Charles III. May he reign. What do we say? May he live long and reign for supreme or something like that.
That's it. Well, I won't get as long as his mother, that's for sure.
Not going to happen, no. But it's an interesting dynamic how it has worked in Australia, and there are a lot of British customs that have moved here, even though we are a Southeast Asian or Australia Pacific country. It's quite different. When I speak to an Israeli company and they talk about Australia, there's a few who think Australia's like Africa, big deserts, remote, not very well developed. But really, we're an island nation that has to do a little bit of everything. But COVID has shown that you can't rely too much on your international exports if you don't plan in advance, because you can't get everything. I don't know, the word is drop ship, but you can't just expect it to be at your door within a day or two. I mean, you can if it's all here already, but if you're buying in, importing goods. And so I like to think we're like Canada without America as a neighbor. And I think that's more of our culture here, ex-British, that we are still British, Canada's not. But we are a developed country in Australia. People should know that. I know most of your listeners are from Australia, and we're not like Africa. Some of the regional parts are very underdeveloped, but for the most part, we're a very thriving metropolis. But we're also a little bit like Singapore, a little bit like China, a little bit like Malaysia, Indonesia. And it is changing, and that's the Australian dynamic and landscape. And it's quite interesting to see that evolve before our eyes.
I think so, and I think that's very mindful of you, because when my first interaction with Australia when I arrived here, I saw the Britishness everywhere. So there's the place names, the historical buildings, which were more historical here, but less historical externally.
Yeah.
Just the timelines. So I saw the British side of it. I saw the colonial component. Then when I bed myself in a little bit, I started to see the USA involvement. So my description of Australia's people were, you had the UK as the parents and America as the cool uncle. That's more here and now, you know. But obviously, the more you unfold, you go to certain areas, certain locations, and it's and you've got different dynamics, so different breakdowns. Then the influence is starting to sort of level out a little bit more, and you get these pockets, as you quite rightly pointed out, which are entirely different and more representative of where we are geographically.
Yeah. Now let's go back to your point about saying your first day of work. What was your saying? Something about boots and shoes and boots or something? What was that saying? All
Suited and booted.
suited and booted, and you wore a tie. Now normally I will be wearing a white shirt, no tie, unless I'm going to a formal occasion. But you are very Israeli in your outfit today, I must say. They love their branded t-shirts, that is for sure.
And let me tell you something. This is the first time I've worn this t-shirt. So I've got the Mr. Purple is a thing that we're doing. So it's still got the packet marks on it.
Where do we get one of them? Is there an online shop, Etsy shop? How do we
Yeah,
get our hands on one of them?
maybe I can slip one your way. Yes,
I am feeling a bit purple today. Is that a good thing?
I reckon so. It's a regal color, isn't it? Psychic regal. It was the hardest color to make back in the day because the dye was
Yeah.
the hardest to obtain. So hence why it become a royal color. It's opulence and wealth.
Yeah.
And also on the color scheme of things, the color purple doesn't exist as well, but that's a different conversation.
And what would you say a purple patch means? Isn't that when something's a bit tricky, something's a bit hard?
Quite the opposite.
Oh, okay, go on.
So purple patch is when you're having a run of good fortune, you're being lucky. So your sports team could be winning every single week. They're having a purple patch. Okay. So in our case, we're dealing with candidates with their careers, clients with their businesses, and we want to play our part on their purple patch.
So they're doing well. Israeli companies exporting well. They have good business partners, but they're working through channel partners and they want to put people on the ground. So we call that the purple patch when they're starting to work out that they want to put sales, engineer guys, and maybe a bit of marketing. Is that when they come to you?
Yeah, the saying purple patch is just a run of good luck. So if things are just going your way,
Yeah.
whichever respect you're looking at, then that's it. But when it comes to our services, yes, well, a lot of time we speak, especially companies, we speak to people. There's a lot of planning. So if someone they think they need an operations manager, we'll speak to them whilst they're thinking about it, determine it's actually a general manager, and we'll put the timelines in place as to when they need to start it to get things ready for the timelines that they have, because there's other codependencies on it. Okay. It's less efficient when people come to us, right, we need this person on Monday.
Yeah.
Because it just is, if successful, you're picking the best of whatever bunch is there. Okay. The same thing goes with candidates. If you've got a candidate, okay, right, I've just lost my job, so I'm going to look for a job. But that's the hardest dynamic. But if you're in a job and you're looking to change and you've got time on your side, then you can play with your preferences and mold it how you want it. So all those runway and planning and putting an element of strategy in there, that's where we like to have our conversations.
I do hear a lot of these runways at the moment. Then, it's a tough time in Israel for understandable reasons. And we are doing a lot of investment events. So people investing in startup companies, scale-up companies that have a long runway. So I guess if you're landing a big Boeing 747 or, Dreamliner or big customers or big deals, you want to have a long runway to be able to land smoothly and take your time, right? Is that where this saying goes?
That's not so much the saying itself. That's where we like to get involved. We also like to build the runway. We like to that's where a genuine partnership comes about, because sometimes we begin institutionalized and we can't see what we can't see. those little blind spots. And sometimes we say, actually, you've thought about this, you've thought about that, and it helps make sure that the ride is smooth. But a running good fortune is more the outcomes, So if it's in your
Yeah.
career, you can have everything go right in your life, and things just seem to be, you're walking on clouds. Is fantastic. And companies that could be in a massive pain spot and a repeating pattern for quite some time. And if we can break that and then start to open up the business as they want it to be, then that's significant. That changes lives.
Yeah. So take me coming from game theory economics. I don't necessarily believe in what this term is, luck, right? You plan it, you create it, you have studied it, you work for it, you put in the hard work, and then just happens to be lucky. You happen to get lucky and everything happens to fall in your way. No, you've planned it. You've got the best people around you. You've worked hard. You've done the hard yards. You're getting rewarded and you'll get more and more rewards. The saying, good things happen to people who wait, or, the best offense is a good defense. Why? These sort of sayings go that I don't, your purple patch is because you've worked for it and you're experiencing it. And, fine, there might be an element of luck that things are falling in the right place at the right time. Well, maybe that's your marketing plan that's working nicely. Or maybe that's someone who spread it because you've done good and you've got a good image and people recognize you. And then that's why things are coming up successful. So take my job, for instance, 4.5 years. Maybe last year people say I got lucky and we got to record a lot of success stories. Or maybe success stories take a year or two in the making and you have to build a relationship to get to that. And you have to nurture those relationships. And you have to know when to push and when to pull back, when to ask and when to deliver. And perhaps that is what is delivering success and delivering those purple patches. And it's good to be able to impart that to Israeli companies and to Australian locals here. And I still think I'm only scratching the surface of what's to be achieved in trade and investment from Israel to Australia. I should also note we're Australasia, so we do include New Zealand and the islands. And you could probably think about New Zealand as maybe a fourth capital city of Australia. Maybe like Wales. You ever been to Wales?
Yeah, I know Wales very well. Lovely, lovely country.
Nice country. There you go. Not as No,
Yeah,
I don't want to offend anyone on this call, do I? That's for sure.
you never know. But it's interesting to your point. So I do believe in manufacturing and making your own luck. So there's an architecture component to what our next steps are, and that is what we sell. We sell. Okay, well let's put the building blocks in place and let's make this happen how you want it to look, and some. Okay.
Yeah.
And then there is that flip side to it as well. So your outlook there is very correct and pragmatic, which I think you're a person that likes to control what you can control, and anything outside of that doesn't get your attention too much. But there is the other flip side as well. Like I think opportunities cross your path, and if we're not switched on to these things that are outside of our control that do cross us, so, hold on a minute, it's like a little black cat or something. Yeah, and if you do follow those, that you can get lucky. Okay,
Yeah.
you wasn't involved in something that's happened, but if your mindset is that you're open to those opportunities and a curious mindset, then you can create luck that way as well.
Yeah, I heard a good quote at a procurement event I was at earlier in the week. It's in procurement and supply. It was mainly in aged care and health. And the quote was from your old mate, Winston Churchill, something along the lines, and maybe you know it, maybe not. Why waste a good storm? So if there's negative externalities coming at you, you're getting better from all in. Why not embrace it and come out the other end stronger? I thought that was a really good way to put the current geopolitics into perspective. That what can we learn from this, such that when we're out the other end, we're bigger, stronger, bolder. And I started this job, Australia Day 2020, so Jan 26. We brought a delegation of 15 Israeli companies with the president of Israel. And some of them had to leave one Friday. Let's say it was the first, second week of February. And what happened after that? They got back to Israel, COVID hit. Everything shut down. So 3 years of COVID, with a few lapses of travel and leisure. But for a long time we were shut up, right? There's a lot of training involved in that and a lot of doing the fundamentals right. So once the storm is finished, you can go out and explode. And maybe that's why we had such a good year last year and a good start to this year, because all the fruits of our labors were coming, were blooming, but then things have troubled recently and we're on this roller coaster journey and we are weathering the storm, and hopefully at the end we can come out bigger, better, bolder, stronger again.
It's interesting. I like that quote that you pulled into the conversation with Winston Churchill. I'm a big fan of taking a negative experience or negative energy and actually converting that energy into something positive. The classic case of that is when someone tells you you can't do something, is to repurpose that and use that as your motivation to take you another level up. So I really do like that. And with the economy as well, I find it quite interesting. So in the recruitment side of things, we see under the bonnet of a lot of businesses, but we also across sector, we see lots of differences. And yes, we saw that bounce back. We felt that bounce back, and we enjoyed the bounce back. But it was a bounce back. Okay, it was especially in the sales side of things, with people making up for lost budgets, forecasts, and whatever. And they're able to trade, they're able to tangibly touch things again. Then everybody wanted a BDM or someone similar, and it put a premium price tag on everything. Okay? And there's become a skill shortage and the peripheral types of roles as well, which it sort of created this. It's about the economy, It's recalibrating, which means we're feeling some pain spots.
And they're talking about buyers and sellers markets, and with the cost of living going up and wages probably stagnating, what would you say it is at the moment, and where is it going to from here?
So that's a that's the $1 million question, isn't it? I generally don't know. So I've been able to predict from the recruitment side of things and just being a curious mindset how these downturns and how things are and where the pendulum which is swinging backwards and forwards. But I think there's a little bit more going on at play. I think there's some other underlying systemic problems. And I don't know, perhaps there's a bit of a cynic in me, is that something is it can't just keep resetting and keep bouncing on that. As if it was an engine, it would stall at some point. But what that looks and feels like, I don't know. That's out of my pay grade, I think.
No, I know you like a good analogy, a good kind of good, taking there. But the engines these days, right? You can be on a V8, 5-liter turbo engine, or you can be on a nice little electric engine that's zippy around town.
Yeah.
What are you driving at the moment? What's your favorite engine going around?
What I'm driving at the moment is a Volkswagen T1, but I like it. I like it. It's top of the range.
I got the Honda equivalent, the CRV.
Yeah, got you.
Yeah.
I did test
the petrol, right? You got this magic juice you can put in the car and it just keeps on going. And then, 400 kilometers later, put some more magic juice into it and it goes again. You don't have to sit and wait and charge it. But it's probably not the future because we're running on dinosaur bones. So it's quite interesting to figure out these engines. Like, when's my petrol engine or diesel engine going to have an AI model in it to optimize efficiency? No idea. But then you got the hybrid, driving, then you got fully electric. And I don't think fully electric's there. And there's the car resale value going to be there in the future. It's really tough, this economy, because you want to be good, right? You want to go electric, but you can't. So you got to keep the engine driving. You can't have a coal steam train anymore, can you? But you can still have a efficient 4-wheel drive to get the kids from place to place.
The things are, the EVs in Europe have taken off massively. So when I was in the UK, I noticed them everywhere, but you could charge them everywhere, and the parking spots were everywhere. So it was convenient to have it. Here, it's not so convenient. You get a couple of stops, a couple of parking spots in here and there. if you want to go long distance, you just can't do it.
No.
Yeah, you need another car. You need, and it's a stretch on petrol, but at least the petrol stations, they know where the business is.
Yeah, and think about like trucking and hauling goods. So I got off a call yesterday with an early stage startup company within its first year, and they've developed this thing. Technology's come out of the army, but it's a sensor. Well, it's a three-pronged approach, but it's a sensor that goes inside the tire that optimizes efficiency automatically without you needing to do anything. So it makes sure your tire runs at optimal pressure. And if your tire is running optimal pressure, traction with the road, imagine a big truck, you can carry heavier loads and you can go further. So imagine the cost saving benefits that's going to have. And imagine all of our cars, going at optimal efficiency. I think that's where the world's coming to at the moment.
I'd stick some of those on my shoes.
There you go. Or the player maker, the Arsene Wenger or the Manchester United guy. He'll tell you how far you're going. I mean, your phone's pretty good at that too. But I can't say your phone's got too much Israeli technology in it. But if you do commit a crime and your phone is locked, I do know of one little company that can get into your phone. But let's make sure no one's listening into the 40th minute of this conversation. But if they are and they're a police officer, let me know and I'll tell you what it is and I'll get you to work it out because they're doing really good stuff. And, it's all about safety and efficiency and doing things for good. I was in Israel last year and we're talking cybersecurity, talking with you now, cybersecurity. It's about trust. There's zero trust or there's full trust. There's authentication and then there's knowing that you can log in without needing to authenticate. And the question is, who do you trust? Do you trust the good guys or do you trust the bad guys? Do you want to back the right team or not? And I feel that most of Australia, UK, democratic world, people are going to be tuning in, know where to put their trust. But it's these small, loud minorities that aren't understanding this and they're backing the wrong side of history.
Okay, that's interesting. I reckon there's probably a can of worms there to open up to as to where the data is, which is making life easier, more secure.
That's it.
That's a whole other topic, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So looking to wrap this up for us then. If someone's listening to this, they like you what you're doing. Who would be the right person to contact you, and why would they be contacting you?
Okay. Most of the work I do with Australian entities are with business leaders, managing directors, C-suite technology guys at big Australian corporations that are looking to optimize efficiency and showcase the latest technologies to their management, to their board, and show how you can either A, save money, or B, drive future efficiencies and better outcomes to get more clients, get more customers. So if you're a massive retailer, how do you communicate with your guys or your customers? How do you get more customers on board? How do you get them in store, create more efficiency? If you're a bank, it's how do you become more secure? How do you become the bank of the future? And that's the Aussie side of things. What we do is with them, we do showcases. So no obligation, give us an hour every afternoon and tell me your pain points and I'll give you a catalogue of Israeli companies to have a look at and we'll get them to present to you and you can pick and choose which ones you want to take the conversation offline and work out if they're right for your organization. Also, guys like yourself, we always need partners that can do things with us and support the economy, support the industry moving forward. Maybe a company's got a purple patch and they want to expand and they want to map out their runway. So they could definitely hit you up direct, but we like to be the facilitator of it. Then we'll take a step back and we like to hear the success afterwards. And for the Israeli side of things, we do a lot of work with a lot of Israeli companies. Over 100 separate companies approach our office in any given year. But then we also engage in industry events and showcases around the world, inviting Aussies to go to these places wherever they are or in Israel. It's a tough time now for Aussies to get to Israel in the corporate world. So we're going to try bring the Israelis to you. So we're going to bring the latest Israeli sports tech. So if you're a club, a federation, or involved in media broadcasting, that sort of space, I'd love to hear from you, because we want to bring these companies to you and show you what's the best out there.
Okay, there's lots and lots of reasons to engage you. How would people contact you?
Hit up Tom, and Tom will put you on to me if he's not out of the office, having fun, having a beer, or going to England. But otherwise, you can email me direct, jeremy.ungar@israeltrade.gov.il. But really, go to Tom and say, Tom, I want to speak to this Jeremy guy, and then he'll connect you on, because I think that's the easiest. What do you think, Tom?
No, that's good. I enjoy being a conduit, as do you. So
Sure, that's our jobs.
that's what we do.
We
So,
make marriages, business marriages, successes.
that's exactly it. Okay, well, listen, thank you very much for your time. Next time we'll catch up in person, and I really enjoyed this conversation.
Happy Friday, Tom, and may your sports team have a win.
Thank you for watching this episode. I hope that you did enjoy it, had lots of takeaways from it. As before, please subscribe below so you can keep on top of any new releases we have. And also, if you would like to have your story told, just reach out with me and I'd love to give you that platform. My best email address is tom@purplepatchconsulting.com. Thank you.